Hi, it's Steve from the Business Gateway. Delighted to be here doing the next round of the Talking Heads videos that Irene and I have been going around the county doing. I'm absolutely delighted to be a bit further down the coast today, past Dunbar. Delighted to be in the company of Josh Nuttall. Josh, very good morning to you.
Morning Steve, morning Irene.
We're going to ask you a few questions like we always do with the Talking Heads programme. We want to hear all about you and what you do. I know you're a specialist and we're going to get into that as we go along. But if you would, introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about yourself.
So my name's Josh and I run a little creative studio called Josh.studio, which isn't the most creative name, but it was the cheapest and best domain I could find on GoDaddy. So yeah, I do everything from branding and identity to web design to just a little logo design, any sort of thing creative. I love getting into that sort of chat with folk and doing that sort of work and really getting into the bones of what people want to communicate. I think that's what I love doing. Yeah.
And what's your background? Obviously, and the question that you and I always discuss is why do branding? Why do it? But what's your background?
So I went to uni in Glasgow, had a really good time there, and then magically got a job straight out of university with an agency that focused predominantly in sports and sports design. One of their main clients was sort of cities bidding for the Olympic Games bids. So that was out of university, straight out of the frying pan into the fire, working on Budapest's Olympic bid, which was really good. I then went freelance for a little bit, and then I joined another agency that was more sort of experience in interiors and kind of looking at how brand and the visuals fit in within an interior space. And then I went freelance again, and just been kind of setting up my own wee shop since then, loving sort of like dealing with sort of small to medium businesses and kind of really scratching under the surface of them and kind of who their people are and how they communicate to them in a visual format. I always like to think it's like you speaking to them before you've even opened your mouth.
Because it's not just marketing, is it? It's that lazy term, isn't it, that people use. Yeah. Branding it's more of it's a bigger deal, isn't it? It's a deeper thing than just.
Yeah, I'm struggling myself to sort of, and this is not great, it's like going to the dentist and saying I don't know how to do teeth, but I think it's brand is this word that kind of gets thrown around an awful lot, and I'm learning it myself and going through the process, but I think everybody is. I think a brand is much more, there's much more to a brand than kind of what meets the eye. It's about how people interact with you, how people see you, and then a logo or a typeface or a colour is kind of just the tip of the iceberg really. There's a lot more to it, and I think that's why I like to be a little bit more holistic at the start of the process with people, to kind of really get to understand them, their business, and like I say, the people that they want to interact with, and that's super key for me.
Something we as advisors go on a lot about to when we're working with clients, whether they're start-up or if they're an existing business, the importance of your brand, isn't it? And that's what you do for a living.
Yeah, totally.
So Josh, we were talking about working in agencies and working in the big smoke, if you think about it that way. And freelancing is very common, obviously, in your industry as well. What was the inspiration between that has now led you to this? What's led you to Josh?
Well, I think there's the design landscape has maybe shifted a bit, and there's probably people out there better equipped to comment on this than me, but I think the pandemic was a big thing. I think a lot of people had agencies and people in house and lots of people on the books, and I think that time of COVID made people think about how they run a business and be a bit more flexible. And this sort of, the way I operate is that I expand and get smaller depending on the job, and I've kind of got a little bank of freelancers, basically the friends really, that do other creative stuff that I kind of reach out to when I need their services, and it works really well. And it means that you've not got the overheads that maybe an agency has to be making sure they're paying people off every month, but then should a meteor job come in, you've kind of got that firepower, and it's a reciprocal thing. Some of the pals, they get me in to do work when I'm needed, and it works both ways, which is really nice. But I think it's much more fluid than an agency. And I think it's much more creative as well, because a lot of these people are, you know, top of the game sort of producers or people that work in the industry. So you kind of are getting good folk working on the jobs. So yeah, that's what I would say the difference.
Yeah, media's changed, hasn't it, as well?
Totally.
You know, so the argument for using your services, I suppose, gets stronger by the day, doesn't it?
Totally.
That visual medium that most businesses have to work in just makes it really important nowadays. And running your own business, as we all know, is challenging, isn't it?
Totally.
What have been the sort of key things that you've had to contend with?
So I love the creative side of things. You know, I would gladly sit and talk creative all day, but the business side of things, that's tough. Like I'm no Alan Sugar, and I think I think trying to learn a bit more businessy. Like I think at the start of the year I probably have figured out what turnover, profit and loss meant, but that's okay, because I think the bones of what I do is the creative, and now I was explaining it to my mum and dad, like, do you remember on a old track synthesizer you could put the bass and the treble up, but then like the bass and the treble are up, but then the middle is the business side and it was way down. So I'm just trying to learn a little bit more about that. So that's been a big challenge for me, sort of learning how to be a better business person. But I think the essence of what I do is creative, and if I can ramp up a little bit of the business nous, hopefully they kind of come together nicely.
That makes a lot of sense, just having that bedrock, isn't it?
Totally.
And then letting your creativity, you know, you do what you do best.
Yeah.
I suppose in that case, if you think about Business Gateway, that's why we're here today. You and I know each other, and I'm your advisor. Is there any sort of bits of the Business Gateway that you've enjoyed using, or any particular resources that have been handy to you?
So there's two things that I think recently that I've engaged with Business Gateway. One was funding, which was very well orchestrated by itself. But the second thing was free, and it was, I often put tenders together, and I went to Tino procurement workshop, and it was brilliant. Like it was scary, and I didn't understand it, but when I feel that, I know I'm in the right place, because that's what I need to learn. But it was just great to be taken through how a business person actually does that. And then, you know, I've adapted my tenders, just like putting a page of a team into my tender documents. I think it makes me look much more credible. So that was like just something free that I was given and allowed to attend, and, you know, I've got a nice cup of coffee out of it and a biscuit, and it was just, other than the cup of coffee and the biscuit, the actual information and the insight I've got, you know, I think will benefit me in the future going forward, and the resources that we got given after that was super helpful. And then the second thing was, you popped me on to, we got funding from it, which was brilliant, and you popped me on to Michelle Brown, who has been amazing, and I think it's just been, you know, it's been to help with my marketing, but bless her, I think she's been more my life coach than anything else. We've had some really deep chats, and, you know, really helped me come out from under my rock, and Michelle will know what I mean when I say that, but like, she analogized things like I do, and she sort of said that to me, and it sort of opened my eyes up a little bit. And yeah, I think that's been super helpful for me, and I even feel different from, you know, the couple of months ago when we started. I feel like a lot better and a lot better positioned, and a lot better at understanding where I want to be and where I want to be going. That's massively down to yourself and Michelle, so massive thanks.
And it's good, because it's nice to see people developing their trade and their business. And therefore, I suppose, if we're working on the bedrock of you as a business, where what's the goals and aspirations for the next sort of short term and medium term? So,
I mean, I love what I do. I think we'll be getting, I don't want to say bigger and better clients, because that's a bit dismissive to my clients that I've got. Like, I love working with folk. I think I'd like to work more in the sort of local area and try tap into some of the businesses that are around here, a bit more established businesses, and see how I can actually help them. I think that's mid-term, and, you know, get my name out there. And then, I mean, I've got a lovely studio that's kind of here, and I love working here, but maybe giving back more to the community by like getting a studio somewhere else, so then I can potentially, I love that sort of freelance model we spoke about, where I pull people in, but maybe look at helping upskill local people or upskill local designers. You know, I think there's a lot of draw to the cities, but I think now with the World Wide Web being the way it is, you know, you can work from anywhere. I think hopefully then that encourages people to pick up these sort of trades where, well, I say trades, but like a design trade where you can work rural, I suppose, and kind of still live but not being the big smoke. So
yeah, I agree with you. In that lovely collaborative feel that
Totally.
you foster, isn't it?
Totally.
If we all work together a little bit more,
yeah.
we can do it. Certainly with East Lothian, the quality of people in East Lothian, as we know, is very high, and the quality of businesses is very high. Anyone watching this video that you and I are doing, anyone watching that you'd like to connect with?
I mean, I've got my own sort of Belhaven brewery. I'd like to do something with them. I don't know if they would be up for that. I've kind of, from the procurement workshop, one of the things we were told to do is kind of get in and ask, you know, can we be on your registered suppliers list? And I'm yet to do that. So some people can kind of hold me accountable for that. I'll do that in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, I'd love to sort of get into sort of drinks and sort of do a bit more packaging. I think it'd be new for me and a new foray. I think design's design, whether it's a brand, a leaflet, a brochure, a book, or a packaging. So I think that would be interesting to kind of get in touch with them, or I think it's Glenkeach Distillery. They would be interesting to sort of touch base with them and see what they're up to. But yeah, I always struggle with this one because I don't really have a specific sector or type. They're like lofty people I would like to get in with, but anybody that sort of thinks they just need a wee bit of help with their visuals, you know, even if it's just a chat, you know, to chat, what do I think about, like, grab a coffee, I'd be more than happy to just meet up, just talk creativity.
It's amazing how it can help your business, isn't it?
Yeah.
Function. It's amazing how it can add value to
your
brand and your business and everything, how you go about it as well. So yeah, it's a useful service. I totally agree. Have you got, because you are an entrepreneur and you own your own business, any tips for anyone watching this that may be starting out on their journey?
Connect with you guys as soon as possible, because that's like, I feel like in the last 6 months-ish, I've kind of come on leaps and bounds. But I think, you know, network a bit sooner, and don't network thinking that I'm going to hand you my business card and you'll be in my inbox tomorrow morning asking for work. But just network with the sort of mindset that these are lovely people that I'm meeting. They all run their own business. They're going through the same struggles that I am. And, you know, let's just be a sounding board for each other. And you don't know where your name or where that person might go and who they might get in touch with. So that's what I would suggest if anyone's like starting up, is to just be a little bit more out there. And like, I've got my own sort of, you know, self-confidence issues, and I think most creatives kind of have a little touch of the old imposter syndrome. But that sort of stopped me for a while. I'd just say, put that to bed, just get on with it, get yourself out there and get speaking to folk.
Good advice. Show your talents.
Don't be shy.
Be proud of what you're able to do. Yeah, that's good. Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed that. I think that chat has been very interesting. I look forward to working with you further. I look forward to 2025 and a bit more success. And I'm very grateful for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Josh.
Take
Good
care.
to see you.
Bye now.